Welcome to the Berean Brotherhood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Berean Brotherhood. We're in episode 24, and this episode is definitely going to be out of this world. We're talking Anunnaki, extraterrestrials, aliens, UFOs. What does the Bible have to say about it? What do we feel about it? And we just want to share all that with you guys. So thanks for tuning in.
Yes, sir. Yes. Very interesting topic. It definitely, if they do exist, which I don't believe they do, or how the world says they exist, then how would that impact our Christian faith? I think it would impact us a lot, but we're definitely going to unpack that during this episode.
The truth is out there. X-Files, one of the greatest shows of all time. Welcome to our 24th episode. Like David Rich was saying, we're at 95 subscribers. We need 5 more. Listen to me for a second. Stop what you're doing. Look me in the eye. We need 5 subscribers, yo. We're right there. I'm at the point. We're so close. I'll beg you. Hit the subscribe button right now. Right now. Hit it.
Even if you hate us.
Especially if you hate us. You want to see our 3 dumb faces every week and have something to hate on. We got to motivate you to live. Hit the subscribe button. Stop.
And then leave a comment of why you don't like us.
Leave a few comments, Tell us aliens are all real. The truth is out there. We're in denial about the fact that there's no evidence for them whatsoever, but they're real. Hit the subscribe button. Get us to 100. We're so close, guys. We have some gifts. We have some goody little ideas that we're going to give to the 100 subscriber. We can see it on YouTube most times. It's kind of strange with that, but we're going to find out whoever that is, and we're going to send you a nice little care package from the Berean Brotherhood. We spoke about this almost 5-6 months ago. We made it. Hit the subscribe button. Help us get to 100 subscribers. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. Are aliens real? Yes or no? I'm going to say, heck no. Dumbest thing ever. I'm sorry. And I'm not just going to go with the traditional biblical view of why, though that I think is sufficient. I think there's plenty of hard scientific data to explain why it's just kind of a silly idea. And it's kind of wishful thinking on behalf of people that don't want Earth and humanity to be the exceptional blue dot it is in the cosmos. The only place till now, and this is a fact that we know of, that has any version of life. Bacterial, intelligent, conscious, unconscious, only place in the universe that we know of. So my vote is on no. Aliens are kind of dumb. The idea of it's just kind of dumb in general. But I get why people kind of believe in it. I just think all the evidence is against it.
Yeah, I always before I was a Christian, I used to be heavy on conspiracy theories and all that. But I never believed that aliens were real. I always believed they were demons just manifesting in a way that, we can see them. And yeah, I believe everything the Bible says. I don't even think the Bible even mentions anything about any other sentient beings except for angels, but that's from my study, that's all I'm going to say on that. But
yeah, so I don't believe in aliens as in extraterrestrial, as in from a different planet. I do believe in interdimensional beings. And when we're talking about dimensions, we're talking about that falls under the angelic and demonic realms. And that's basically it. I don't think that there's beings from out of this world. I think that they're interdimensional beings that operate. Looking at the laws of physics and looking at different things, for a vehicle to go from 0 to 90 and then hit a right angle, they're saying that the velocity that it's going is so intense that they would literally be put into mush if this was physically happening on the third dimension. So most scientists, scholars, like all around, are saying that these things are operating on a multi-dimensional level. And once we get into talks like that, I'm already seeing we're talking angels, we're talking demons, and there's a book in the Bible, book of Ezekiel, and in the book of Ezekiel, he has a vision, and in his vision, it says that he sees wheels within wheels, kind of like a glass dome over the wheel, and there's a person inside, and it's just interesting that if he can have an angelic visit, not a visitation, angelic vision of something that could be almost describing a UFO type thing, and it's angelic, then my only thought would be that if it's a fallen angel, that demons could also present themselves like that. But we also see that in every single country and every single continent, there is a story, creation story, or some type of mythology of star beings coming down to the earth. That's where you get the Mesopotamian or Sumerian, the Anunnaki, right? I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of that. There's some other alien races like the Greys, aka the Zetas, right? We have the reptilians from the star system Draco, the Pleiadians from
I'm
the
sorry.
no, look it,
Sorry, David.
they're classified. It's like
Yeah.
they have it's the Anunnaki, right? That come from the planet Nibiru, right? And it's like the 14th or 13th planet that only comes into our solar system every X amount of years, right? Then you have the what are known as the Zeta. There's another word for it, but the Zetas, which is the Greys, which is like the little gray aliens or the giant gray
David,
aliens, right?
who classified these aliens? Aliens are
Listen,
among us.net.
listen,
Like what?
people have done it, man. They got the reptilians, aka the shapeshifters, right? They're from a
Oh my
particular
gosh.
star system. This is what they're claiming. And then
Who's they?
the
Who's they? Who's they, bro?
who's
Come on.
the conspiracy theory
There
people.
you go. There you
You know what
go.
I'm saying? And not
Secret
just
Service.
conspiracy, but just people who have I truly believe that people are having real encounters, real supernatural situations and things that are happening to them. It's just that um because of the agenda that's being pushed in this world, everything, we could talk about the alien agenda, the sensitizing of the entire planet of humanity, that if we all have one common enemy, we could be all united. Everything from the movies that we're watching to the video games. Lee, back in the day, we had we was playing Xbox 360. We had a Halo team. That whole Halo game concept is Marines going in and fighting these alien beings who happen to be religious, and there's a tie to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure you know more of the storyline than I do, but
yeah, bro. I mean, I'm just saying the Pillsbury Doughboy is also a giant anthropomorphic dough being, and he giggles when you touch his tummy. Nobody makes like Pillsbury, but that don't mean he's real, like. So maybe there's something in Halo and in alien fiction that resonates with people because humans are always looking toward things outside of the natural experience, So maybe the idea of it's a masculine power fantasy, right? Like I love Halo is one of my favorite shooters of all time, but it's very much a masculine power fantasy. It's like dudes go on planet outnumbered and outgunned, and they're there to kill this imperialistic evil alien empire. Like all that does is it tells me that human nature's desire to conquer and to see itself as a victor against unknown threats of massive proportions is intact. But I don't think that serves as good evidence that aliens exist. I'm just saying, if that's the case, then the Kool-Aid Man is somewhere too, because people resonate with that mascot. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I find those ideas just I don't find any biblical reason to believe that the UFO UAP unidentified aerial phenomena that we've seen is demonic. I see no evidence whatsoever of that outside of the one trait of these encounters is the fact that they're mysterious and we don't have details on them. That's it. Within mystery, I think there's a lot of taboo. There's a lot you're leaving to the imagination, the human consciousness. And in that space, there's a lot of room for a lot of supernatural types of threats. So I guess I could start off for my basis. I can go into the biblical reasons why I think aliens are kind of dumb. and human exceptionalism and earth exceptionalism that you see in the Bible over and over and over again. But I think the scientific reasons are just a lot more persuasive in general to people outside and inside the church. Before I get into that, I just want to say my favorite alien flick of all time is Cloverfield. That
Oh yeah,
movie,
that's an awesome movie.
bro, how great is that
Didn't
movie?
we
That's a good
go
movie.
see it together?
Yeah, bro.
That was awesome, bro.
Great movie. I love it. Rich has got aliens in the background. Dave, I don't know. What are your favorite alien movies?
Let me see. Alien movies. You can't go wrong with Predator, right?
Of course, brother.
Predator is amazing. Oh, Independence Day, Will
Of
Smith.
course. Welcome
That,
to
you know,
Earth.
yeah. Um, I
Battle
think
LA.
those are what is it?
Battle LA.
Nah, I never seen that.
Which one's
That
that?
movie was
Sorry.
fire.
Sorry.
That's the one with actual like Marines in Los Angeles. It's based off of that one phenomenon and that happened years ago in LA. Like there was actually like some type of like battle. They were shooting something down and people were saying it was UFOs. Like it was weird. It was weird. But the movie itself was
Was fire?
awesome. Yeah, it was fire.
Mhm.
It's from like I think like 2009 or 10 maybe, but
Is that the one with Aaron Eckhart, aka Two-Face from the Batman movies?
yes.
Oh,
Yes, it
I know which
is.
one that is. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Never saw it, but I heard okay things about it. I mean, I think the biggest knockout punch. Let's divide it into two, and you guys tell me where we're wrong or right on either side of them. We can go into the biblical side of it, but let's start with the natural side of it. The biggest reason why I think alien life is just a giant goof is because of something called the Fermi Paradox. Have you guys ever heard of it? It's
No.
basically it's invented by Italian, later naturalized American physicist Enrico Fermi. He was a Nobel Prize winner. He was one of the biggest architects of the nuclear age. He worked on the Manhattan Project. He worked on Chicago Pile 1, the world's first nuclear reactor. This guy was like one of the fathers of the atomic age. And they took a lot of interest in interstellar travel, theorizing about space and alien life. And the Fermi paradox basically says if the universe is anywhere between 8 to 14 billion years old, maybe even older, because new estimates are coming out that are saying it's possibly even older than that. It only takes life according to a Darwinian model of evolution several 100 million years to evolve, right? 100 million years is a long time, but it's a very short amount of time when you're talking about a 14 billion year old universe. Okay. 100 million years is a drop in the bucket. It's peanuts. The Fermi paradox basically says at the age of the universe being 14 billion years old, with trillions upon trillions of galaxies, and in those galaxies, trillions and trillions of stars, and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of planets within each of those stellar systems, with hundreds and hundreds of billions of them being in the habitable Earth-like zone of each solar system. Fermi basically said, with the universe this old, with the universe this big, knowing what we know about life, how it only takes a blink to evolve, basically, where did all the life go? Where is it? Where'd it go? And people will say, well, the universe is so big. There's no way that we could possibly see other civilizations. Yeah, but it's also super old. And by this point, even with current modern Earth technology, even at a slow rate of colonization, it should not take trillions of years to colonize even a local star system. By this point in the lifespan of the universe, there should have been, if evolution is right, if the age of the universe is right, if the greatest scientific minds of biology and interstellar development are right, then there should have not just been 100 civilizations or a million civilizations. There should have been potentially billions of evolved civilizations way past our technological development. It's only taken us 200, 300 years to have the internet, the steam engine, electricity, nuclear weapons. Compared to the age of the universe, this is the blink of an eye. So the Fermi paradox basically says this does not make any sense. If what we know about life is true and the evolution of life happened according to this guideline and a universe expanded according to this guideline, we should have encountered hundreds of millions of alien civilizations or seen some sort of evidence for them, even with the universe being that big. The universe being that big is not a negative against the argument. It's a positive because it just means there's even more room for alien life to develop. And there's just no life anywhere. We haven't seen it at all. There's zero evidence of it. And that to me is a knockout punch on the scientific side. It does not make sense why, if the consensus is this is the way things should be, why we're in such a graveyard of a cosmos. Like where did all the life go?
So when it comes to aliens existing, I know atheists would love for that to be real. Would love
100%.
for, for aliens to be real, because and also I would also add, like, even going to the creation story, right? In Genesis, I wanted to share Genesis 1:6, and it says, "And God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse," or if you're reading KJV, firmament, I believe, "and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day." Now, the only reason why I'm bringing that up, and this could probably be a topic for another video, is like, is space actually space? Like how NASA describes it, right?
Talking flat Earth theory, bro. What's up? Another episode.
Now, of course, like, when it comes to the whole thing about like the Earth being like an actual, not an actual sphere, but like a front, like a dome in a way.
Talk that talk, bro. Talk that talk.
Just say it with your chest, bro.
I've seen videos of like people, or not people, I guess like the government shooting out rockets towards space, and once they hit a certain point, like I've seen the ones that it kind of curves, but I've seen ones where like it'll hit a certain point and make like a almost like a splash kind of look to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I always think of the creation account where it's like God is separating the waters, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the waters below and the waters above. So I always think about that. Like, I haven't done too much research on that, to be quite honest. I really don't want to. I'm always gonna I'd rather just focus on Christ, because I think that's like way too much science for me. Um, but yeah, just going back to those videos, like, it's just weird. It's weird. You know, we could talk about the moon landing and all that crazy stuff, and
how the astronauts denied that it actually happened.
yeah, and
The
like,
ones
There we
that
go.
actually landed, you know. I'm just saying, you know,
I'm willing to stop
from
at
the horse's
aliens.
mouth, you know.
Like at aliens, I'm willing to stop. Everything else I think is true. The Earth looks spherical. I think there's just too much photographic human testimony about it. I think the case is overwhelming for the Earth being spherical and the heavens, the stars, galaxies, all these things existing. I just think that something like aliens is a little too. The best evidence that we have for aliens is not even outside of Earth. There are no indicators whatsoever that any carbon-based life forms exist. There's just nothing whatsoever. But the only thing we can point to are just low definition videos that we find on planet Earth. They're
of
never in
course.
4K. They're always low definition.
Well. I uh have to say something against that, because Mexico City, January 1st, 1993, at 2 p.m., tens of thousands of people saw a silver metallic disc-shaped UFO. It was broadcast by every single news station. You have collaborating testimonies of high-profile people, not just people in the streets. Whole highway was shut down. There was something happening in the skies. And guess which country there was no press, no nothing? The US had nothing was televised, nothing was bought over, but this was one of the highest, most authenticated UFO sighting, most documented, videotaped, all that stuff. So, you know, there is something happening. And going down that route as well, when they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's a Dead Sea Scroll particular document that was found. Is called the Genesis Apocryphon. And that Genesis Apocryphon described what we would now call ancient astronauts or ancient star beings or beings from other planets coming down. So, you know, when you read the Genesis 6 account, which I truly believe that the Genesis 6 account, where it says the sons of God saw the daughters of men, they lusted after them, they got into marriage with them, they shared secrets, and you go into extra biblical works like the book of Enoch, and every single continent having something about star beings, literally, you know, all these things. In Assyria, you have Asher. We talked about Zoroaster religion. That was Ahura Mazda, I believe his name is. In Egypt, you have Ra, who had a celestial boat that flew, and his son named Horus, who had a winged disc of Ra that flew in the air, right? The Great Pyramid, which is believed to be written by Thoth, the Atlantean, and that whole thing about Atlantis. And in Sumeria, you have Enlil and Enki, and you know, every single one of these places. You look at the Hindu Vedas, which is in India, right? All of the Hindu holy books, you see these beings that are on some type of flying spaceship or some kind of flying boat. And, you know, I think that something did happen, something did occur. I do think that I don't think that it's from this planet. I just think, I don't think it's from another planet. I just think that is interdimensional. These beings are interacting with humanity. They've left their prints. We see you know, similar hieroglyphs in Mesoamerica as well as you see in Egypt. And, you know, what is the probability of you seeing the exact same bird-like, reptilian-like, animal, human?
It's very high. I think the probability is extremely high when you have a bunch of humans who live on a planet in one ecosphere, one biological container. Notice how all the drawings you're describing of supposedly alien contacts all bear characteristics of earth-bound animals in biology. Faces of eagles, faces of lizards. It's like, well,
Right.
what's the probability that someone on this part of the planet would draw an alien creature with a lizard-like face? Well, the probability is that they would be a human being who saw a lizard, which kind of looks different from human biological structures, thinks it looks kind of alien, and puts that up on their cave wall. And it makes sense why humans in these earlier periods of time that didn't know much about time and space and physics and the cosmos would all use the same kind of foreign looking animals as their kind of symbolic references to what they thought was greater than the
Right.
planet.
I would say the answer to that is that all of these things were exposed to them prior to the Tower of Babel. So you have these things happen, the flood, then the Tower of Babel, then all of the people spread out to different parts of the world, all of them having a similar origin. That's why all the stories kind of align to a certain degree. Maybe some things here and there are different, and that's why you would have similar structures, like, you know, what would have been like the Tower of Babel, which is called the ziggurat, which is kind of like a pyramid, right? Um, but even, you know, with all that, the Bible tells us in Philippians chapter 2, verse 10, it says that that at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow in heaven above, right? On the earth and everything underneath the earth, that every tongue shall acknowledge Jesus Christ is Lord. So regardless if they are aliens out of this world, out of this planet, in the heavens above, the word of God tells us that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord. So they need salvation just as much as we need it.
I mean,
Jesus is Lord. And
maybe
that's my response to anyone that is you know.
I'm a complicated cookie, right? I'm strange in the way that in order for me to believe something, I require a little something. It's a crazy idea called evidence. So evidence is my foundation for believing anything. If someone tells me that the Mr. Softy truck passed by yesterday at 3:47 p.m. and it was playing the classic song and that everyone got ice cream, you know, if I saw that Mr. Softy truck pass by 4 times in the week earlier, that seems like credible evidence. Telling me that, well, you know, people in Africa painted on cave walls just like people in Europe, and they all thought lizards kind of look weird, so they painted them on walls. That doesn't seem like strikingly convincing evidence of aliens. The idea that humanity itself would seek something greater than itself, I think, is good evidence that humanity is innately built in. It's a feature, not a fault of the system. For them to believe that the design and structure of the universe begs the question, what put us here? What supernatural or above humanity elements are there that introduce this perfectly designed ecosphere for us to live in? I don't think that's good, convincing evidence for anything other than the fact that the human curiosity about their existence is universal. I don't think that is anywhere close to a concrete explanation for visiting aliens and little green men jumping around. It just doesn't, it just, the evidence is too weak to support that. On top of things like the Fermi Paradox, on top of things like just what we have are just 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years. What we do have on the record is just hard evidence that every governmental institution that has ever existed on the face of the planet has and will always lie to its people and use misinformation for different political reasons. So back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you had people in Texas claiming that they had seen the same thing that they would say today, UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. You know, they would see a vehicle pass over them in Texas and Arizona, and they would claim there was this V-shaped vehicle that was passing by, and I didn't see any engines, and I didn't see any propellers, and I didn't see exhaust. I didn't see anything. There's no way a human being could have designed this thing. No way they could have designed it. Later in the 90s and the early 2000s, when the United States government declassified their stealth bomber program, and you got to see the new technological leaps they made with heat exhausts and propelling engines, then it made a lot more sense. The gaps were filled in. But when you're in Texas in 1979, looking up at the sky, and all you see is the dark silhouette of a V, there's a lot of room for mystery there. And at the time, what did U.S. officials say about it? They said, we don't know where that came from. We have no idea. Why? Because the program was classified, and because they were in the middle of a Cold War, and because there were nuclear powers waging for influence and political authority over their enemies. And so a lot of these programs were classified for long periods of time. It's the same thing like we had the testimony of a couple of high-ranking Air Force officials, military officials in the last 2 years. The ones that I can think of off the top of my head are Ryan Graves. He was the executive director for Americans for Safe Aerospace, retired Air Force Major David Grush, retired Navy Commander David Fravor, and they testified before Congress that there were active UAP programs in the United States government, and that they had encountered alien biologics or body parts, and that they were actively reverse engineering this technology for U.S. weapons means and to study and understand them. But that's exactly what I would expect a government to say if it were attempting to develop technology, if it were attempting to have its enemies divert resources to a new threat that didn't exist. This is exactly in the playbook. It's like when on September 16th in Mexico City, Jamie Maussan, Mexican journalist and longtime UFO enthusiast, and his buddies came and they presented those little alien mummified remains. I don't know if you guys saw those. They're
I
basically
think
in
I remember
coffins.
that.
Dude, these things look like they were made of styrofoam. They were the fakest looking things on the planet. Every scholar and researcher on the planet was saying, this is absolutely a fraud. This guy's done this before. He's presented it. But I saw
Oh,
dozens
the
of
small little alien things
yeah,
in
in
Mexico
the
City.
coffins. I saw
Right.
people sharing it left and right without knowing who this guy was, without knowing his track record, not knowing the connection he's had to former hoaxes, whether or not intentional or not. And I saw people sharing and saying, how you going to deny it now, bro? There's an alien body right there in the middle of Mexico City. And I'm like, brother, your standard of belief is so low. And I think it's biblical to say, right, that we have faith in God. And someone would say, well, you Christians are the last people to talk about believing in things without seeing them. And to that, I would just make the quick point of saying we believe because we have confidence in the evidences we have seen, the strange movings in each of our lives when we've dedicated our lives to the Lord, the testimonies of millions and millions upon people when they trust in the name of Lord Jesus, the design of the universe, the design of physics, from the cell all the way up to macro structures, the cosmos itself. All of this lends itself to the idea of some inherent designer or creator behind the scenes. That seems completely reasonable to me. But with aliens, I think the big problem is that most of the people who want to believe in it want to believe in it because if they do, humans are no longer exceptional. Earth is not exceptional. Life is not exceptional anymore. And if none of this is exceptional, then we can do as we see fit. Just like in the book of Judges, every man did as he saw fit in his own eyes. And if the evidence were even remotely close to that, then I would say we should take it into consideration. But with things like the Fermi Paradox, past declassified US government programs, Russian programs that talk about appropriating resources towards alien adventures, towards alien research, then later, 10 years later, a decade later, declassifying that aircraft and knowing it was on the books the entire time. Even, I mean, just to close off this ramble, it's just no coincidence either that most of these UAP sightings that we know of are around, what is it? US military bases all the time. They're always cited by Air Force personnel. They're always cited around US military bases. Even the officials who testified in front of Congress and spoke about this said, we believe it's some type of surveillance program, right? So even if it were aliens, obviously these aliens are not all powerful because they're investing resources in surveillance programs to find our strengths and weaknesses at our military bases. So they're not as invincible as they sound. Or a simpler solution, a much simpler solution, a biblical solution. Men and women in authority have been lying since the beginning of time. Any amount of misinformation that they can use to accumulate more power, they will use. And nothing about the UAP programs to me seems like something that couldn't be fabricated by a government just to have its enemies divert resources towards imaginary threats.
Yeah, my thing is, when it comes to people clowning Christianity, right? And they say how, oh, it's so ridiculous how you believe in a God that created things. But then you have this creation account that I'm about to read. You guys probably know what it is. If not, guess, but I'll give you guys the answer.
Okay.
So, this creation account, now listen to this, okay? 75 million years ago, Zenu, the ruler of a galactic confederation of 76 planets,
South Park Scientology?
transported billions of his charges and spaceships similar to DC-8 jets to a planet called Tegiak Earth or Earth. There they were placed near volcanoes and killed by exploding hydrogen bombs, after which their thetans or souls remain to inhabit the bodies of future earthlings, causing humans today great spiritual harm and unhappiness that can be remedied through spiritual techniques involving an electropsychometer and a process called auditing. Auditing. Yes, that is Scientology. So you're telling me there's people that actually believe this. It sounds like a movie, bro. It sounds like like an actual fictional book. And you're telling me that you will not believe that an all-powerful, all-knowing being, supernatural being, creating the world as we know it, breathing life into man, you're telling me that's more ridiculous than some guy named Zenu, the ruler of a galactic confederation?
Right, which there's no evidence for. It
Like,
all
there's
comes.
none.
There's no evidence. Like, well, what's the evidence of Christianity? I don't know. That every single accredited scholar on the planet, whether he's religious or not, testifies that a Jesus Christ of Nazareth existed. That the
Mhm.
historical evidence for Jesus was greater than the historical evidence for Alexander the Great. That these manuscripts taken from different regions, hundreds of thousands of miles across from each other, written in several different languages, all correspond to each other, decades, centuries across time from one another. That this one historical figure revolutionized the world and flipped everything on its head and transformed society as we know it. That this religious holy text that he spoke about and that he validated, Old and New Testament, spoke about a designed reality with properties of a creator who created a moral guiding force for his creation. that they would use it responsibly on the planet, but that when they rebelled against it, all they sought was selfishness, self-gain, and promotion of self overall. I don't know. Those seem like, if not concrete evidences, at least highly probable evidences. They seem like evidences worth consideration. But I guess I could close this entire this in thought experiment out by just saying the Bible's account, I think, of the planet Earth and of humans, it doesn't explicitly say humans are the only living things in the cosmos, right? But the way the Bible talks about humanity and Earth is with very exceptional properties. So Genesis 1, chapter 1, like Rich was talking about, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters of earth, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens, column A, and the earth, column B. All of the cosmos and all of space and all of the galaxies that we know exist in the observable universe and Earth. There's this distinguishing line between these two properties of reality. Everything that physically exists and Earth, even from chapter 1. Revelation 21, verse 1 to 3. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for a husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven, from the throne, saying, Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. Again, a new heaven, a new earth, a distinguishing line between these two locations. The fact that the Bible is saying that God dwells among his people here in this new heaven, in this new earth, that there's no ocean, there's no sea. He's directly localized in time, space as we understand it. And then Colossians chapter 1, verse 16 to 17. For by him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. No mention of other life there. A distinction. Earth is unique. The Bible, holy text, Bronze Age mythology, totally disconnected from modern science, right? Talks about the cosmos existing and Earth having a distinctly unique place among it. And today, in modern astrology, modern astrophysics, modern cosmology, the modern study of interstellar movement and stellar systems and quantum mechanics and Newtonian physics, even today in empiricism, Earth is distinct amongst the cosmos. There is no place like Earth that we know of. There's no place with sentience. There's no other physical place in the universe that we know of that has demonstrated consciousness. So I don't know. I guess that's another point for the Bible to just 2,000 years ago, just happened to land it right before they had rocket ships, before they had anyone on the moon, that Earth would have a distinct, unique place among the cosmos, and that the inhabitants of the Earth would have a special moral responsibility to their creator. But yeah, that's the Bible's version. Don't forget that in 1938, Orson Welles' radio broadcast of War of the Worlds played. And when it played, the show itself played like news bulletins interrupting the show. We have breaking news. Martians are invading New York City. Like, that's how the show was played. And a bunch of listeners started panicking and calling 911 and going into craziness because they didn't hear that beginning contextual information part, and they thought aliens are invading. They didn't know back in 1938 that nothing was happening. But the mass hysteria caused by it, I think, is emblematic of the same problem with UAPs today. There are definitely things floating in the air, unidentified phenomena that deserve questioning. There are U.S. panels, congressional committees assembled just for that fact. Like David said, you can see them in Africa, Europe, wherever you're at. That does not mean, it does not logically follow that these are extraterrestrial in origin. There could be any number of human explanations for it. And if human history is any indicator, humans will use any means they can use to deceive their opponents, especially in an age like today where there's AI and all these other means of producing any image you want. I could take an image of Rich and Dave right now, record it for 2 minutes, use AI, and have them preaching about why atheism is great. How much more difficult would it be for me to create a floating spherical image in a video anywhere I would like it to be? So verdict is out. I guess my final thing is, it's just the evidence is not strong enough. And if you want to convince me otherwise, you're going to have to bring actual evidence.
Yeah, and I would also add, like, back when I was saying I believe aliens are just demons, honestly. I would I would kind of like I kind of think of the end times as well, and this whole like alien deception thing. I feel like it would be used for deceiving people and like getting them to believe that God doesn't exist, or the Bible is just a fairy tale and everything like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like this, know, if uh if Satan and his demons use this to like as like a deception to deceive people and all this, like I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I do believe that there is an alien agenda. You know, there is some sort of like worship behind the idea that these aliens are gonna tell us our true origins, because we're really trying to. We see in the movie Independence Day when the ship was coming down closer and closer, the party on the rooftop, everyone's like worshiping, you know, and just kind of like partying, kind of rejoicing in the fact and believing that these extraterrestrials are going to give us information, or teach us something about our purpose and how we got here on this planet, and all that stuff. And I
Right.
do believe that there is an agenda that has to do with them trying to kind of desensitize us. I do believe in the rapture. So I could see that being, you know, something them saying like, hey, you know,
Yeah.
the aliens abducted all of these Christians, all of these
Yeah.
people, and that.
Yeah.
And I just find it interesting that with all of the things that are documented, people that have had alien encounters, or abductions, or anything that has to do with that in that kind of realm, there is a religious aspect about it. Like we
Right.
have mediums, and we have people who have claimed to being in contact with these alien grays, and the Pleiadians, and for some reason the things that they're talking about is religious things. So I just find it, you know, I find that weird. And for those of you who love scriptures, I'm going to give you one. Hebrew in the Greek lexicon. So Strong's number H5377 is the word for NASA. And NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. So I don't know if NASA knew that before they did it, but I just gave you which in the Hebrew lexicon. Go check it out for yourself. You know, I think that those who study quantum physics and quantum reality and all that, you start to see like um more into the 10 measurable dimensions that we have, and all that stuff is fun to study. Billy Carson, I definitely look forward to having a conversation with you one day, talking about Enlil and Enki and the origin stories. You know, Lee, you mentioned something about how back in the day they didn't have much information, but I've studied so much of the Sumerian Empire that a lot of the systems and a lot of the things that we have in this very day have been traced back in their origins with the Sumerians 5,000, 6,000 years ago. So everything from time to the solar system, the way that it's mapped out, um, language, right? Alphabet, all that stuff. And I'm very I've been studying a whole lot about the Sumerian Empire, and you know, the origins and all that. But I do want to share a quick testimony to close it out. When I was a teenager, a preteen in Puerto Rico, I was visiting my grandma, and I went over there, and my grandma happened to live close by to where the one of the biggest satellite observatories in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. And while I was visiting my grandmother's house in the nighttime, they had like a telescope, and we would look up into the sky. And when I was a preteen, you know, I'm looking up, I'm seeing all the beautiful stars and all that. And there was a light star that had these awkward movement patterns. Now it looked like a star, and I'm looking at it, and it goes left, then it shoots right, then it shoots left. And I was just always amazed. Like, I know that's not a shooting star, because I believe a shooting star only goes one direction. So what is it? What is this particular light that's going from place to place. Some people were like, "Oh, those are aliens" or whatever. I never got closure or know what that was, but I just always found it to be something that was very interesting, you know.
Yeah.
And
And I'm sure the kid that was flying the drone around at that time that caught your attention was getting everything he wanted and more. But I don't dismiss your experience. I hope you understand that I'm not dismissing your experience, and I'm not dismissing the experience of everyone around the world, like you said, who across time and space has seen things in the sky,
Mhm.
even military experts who have seen unidentified phenomena. I believe you saw all those things you're saying you saw, and I believe most of these people, with the exclusion of one or two conspiracy theorists, are telling the truth. All I'm saying is the evidence does not link that to aliens. And maybe there's some, it seems more probable that there's a human explanation for this, possibly even a supernatural one, but very little evidence that it's some extraterrestrial life behind it. That's my main argument. Not that the experience that you had is false or a lie, or that these
Right,
people
right.
are lying about it, or that the Air Force pilot who recorded one of these devices flying in front of his craft and then going into the ocean and then zooming off at 150 miles per hour was lying about it. Just that I don't believe the evidence suggests. I believe the evidence suggests something a little closer to home. That's my main point, I guess.
Yeah. So for those of you who are conspiracy theories, look this up: Project Bluebeam, Project Blue Book, which is the CIA and FBI's files on UFO, basically them accumulating all of these documents and stories and intergalactic wars and all that stuff that give you all of the history line of all of the alien races and stuff like that. Fun read, like if you were reading Marvel comics. Check it out. But yeah, thank you for listening to us. Tell us what you believe, share it in the comments. uh if you have any interesting topics, throw it out there so that we can cover it. But we definitely appreciate you guys. Like, comment, share, and just continue to support. Thank you all.
Thank you,
God bless
guys.
you all.
God
I
bless.
guess.
Bye.